Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Tuesday, December 16th. Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, Matt Robinson with you, ready to break down the Tuesday NHL card. Big slate as always on a Tuesday night. We've got, looks like 9 games on the NHL docket for this Tuesday night. Very much looking forward to breaking them all down here. And also actually 10, I believe, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 games. 10 games. We did hit double digits as far as the number of games tonight. And, of course, this is the start of a big day here on the Ice Guys. Not only our regular show here about to begin, but it's our final Ice Guys live betcast of 2025. We hope you join us, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. Again, this is our final betcast of 2025. You will not see another betcast until January after this, after the holiday season. So join us. You know, it's going to be like a little bit of a Christmas party, if you will. We'll be on for the entire night, right through the end of the late games, which are Colorado, Seattle, and Calgary, San Jose. Colorado-Seattle's a TNT game, by the way. There's a TNT doubleheader tonight, and that is the second game of the doubleheader. So we'll be on for the whole night. Looking forward to it. 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. Again, DM or email to join the betcast tonight. Very much looking forward to it. You know what I'm looking forward to as well, looking back on what was a glorious NHL betting night last night. I mean, top to bottom, pillar to post, whether it was me, whether it was Alex, whether it was Perlo, who is our Monday guest on the show every Monday, whether it was a lot of the people in our YouTube chat, people on the Patreon page that are members, Matt Robinson, who wasn't even on the show yesterday, talking about what a good night it was for him from a betting standpoint. I didn't talk to anyone that didn't have a good night last night. It was really, really great to see the results play out the way we hoped, the way we thought they would, starting with the Battle of Florida. You know, when you see 4 starting defensemen out of the lineup for a particular team, you pounce. That's just too much to overcome, in my opinion. You know, and I know teams have depth across the league. Various teams, you know, could be able to survive that maybe for one game. But there's a lot of teams that can't. And I think it got to the point with Tampa Bay, you know, when you're talking about Victor Hedman, and you're talking about Eric Chernak, and you're talking about Ryan McDonough, and you're talking about Emil Lilleberg, who has emerged as one of their better defensive-minded physical blue liners as well for the Lightning. When you're talking about missing those 4 guys on the blue line, you're going to eventually, you know, it's going to be too much to overcome, especially when you're talking about facing a Florida Panthers team that is starting to get right, get well, playing probably their best stretch of hockey right now of the season, and they get the job done last night against Tampa Bay, taking advantage of those cluster injuries on the blue line for the Tampa Bay Lightning, with Florida getting the 5-2 win last night over the Tampa Bay Lightning, and we hit every bet. It was a first period over best bet for Alex in that game. It was a Florida money line, Florida team total over, full game over for me. I think Alex had a combination of those as well. So it was just, you know, we read the game the right way, and it played out the way we thought it would. So great to see that. Florida playing great end to a great road trip. And for the Florida Panthers now, they won the 2 games against the Jackets and the Islanders last weekend at home. They go on the road. They beat Utah. They lose in a brutal spot against Colorado on a back-to-back. No shame in that at all. They bounce back and then beat Dallas over the weekend on Saturday. And then, of course, they beat Tampa last night for 5-1 in their last 6 games. So well done to the Florida Panthers. I know people wanted to hear that. So there we go. Florida getting the job done last night. As far as the other games we saw last night, we saw obviously the Anaheim Ducks get the job done against the New York Rangers. That was my best bet. Anaheim plus 105 in that range. It was a tight game, hard fought. Good goaltending, really, both sides. I thought do you see the difference in Dostal with a game under his belt? He was certainly more comfortable last night. Thought Anaheim played a pretty solid game defensively as well on the road, after the loss to New Jersey, much better in their own end. And what a shot by Cutter Gauthier that gave Anaheim the lead in the third period. Just an absolute missile, a rocket past Igor Shesterkin. What a shot. It's a gifted goal scorers type of shot right there by Cutter Gauthier there to give Anaheim the lead. And then they put it away with a couple of empty netters and get a 4-1 win against the New York Rangers. And, the frustration of Shesterkin, the video that was obviously viral on social media, slamming his goal stick after the game. Yeah, I'd be frustrated too when my team never scores for me half the time. So, like I said, the Anaheim Ducks, nice bounce back for them. They're in action again tonight against Columbus, so nice to cash the best bet there. We get a draw winner. A great betting night's never complete without an overtime draw bet hitting for you, and we got that with Ottawa taking on Winnipeg. So very much, like I said, excited to see that with thanks to Jake Sanderson getting the game-tying goal in the last couple of minutes of the third period. So we cash a plus 325 draw for me and Alex there, Sens and Jets. And what a goal in overtime. Tim Stützle with a filthy saucer pass right onto the tape of Brady Tkachuk, who does not hesitate, rips a one-timer past Connor Hellebuck to give the Ottawa Senators a 3-2 overtime win. It was a great game. Top to bottom, Ottawa, Winnipeg, really well played, got a little physical. Same with Tampa, Florida, too. There was some nastiness there. And by the way, the one thing I forgot to mention about Tampa, Florida, Jake Gensel, man, shout out to him. His first NHL fight, taking on a guy that's a lot bigger than him in Nico Mikkola. Love to see that. It's the kind of emotion that the Battle of Florida stirs up. But Ottawa, Winnipeg was a great game. I know I talked about this in our group chat. The Amazon Prime Video Monday night broadcast production values are tremendous, off the chart. The crew is great with Forsland, Shelley, and Hickey. Great broadcast team, great camera angles. Great that they take it down into the dressing room area after the game, before the game. They show you the pregame skate before the game, too, with nobody talking for most of it. Like, it's just really, really well done. Like TNT and Amazon Prime, to me, they're the two best broadcasts out there for NHL hockey as far as high quality production is concerned. No doubt about that. What else did we see last night? We saw the Nashville-St. Louis game. We stuck with the over, and it hit, 5-2. I was thinking the Blues might, tighten things up after giving up 7. Well, they still could not do that. And Nashville's become a scoring machine all of a sudden.
All over Nashville with that one.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. Well done by him. 5-2 win for the Predators there, and more struggles for the St. Louis Blues last night, and more good times for Nashville. Other than a loss to Colorado in a revenge spot, Predators, they're suddenly rolling at the moment and scoring goals left and right. So great to see that from their standpoint after some early struggles to begin the season. And we wrapped up the night with LA and Dallas with the Dallas Stars. Look, it's been a couple of, especially the Florida game, it's looked like they were skating in mud, skating in quicksand. And to be honest with you, it was looking like that for the early part of the game last night as well. It took Dallas a long time to get going, but they got a game-tying goal. It sort of opened things up quite a bit for them, and then they started to get going a little bit. Now, unfortunate incident with Darcy Kemper, had to leave the game. Anton Forsberg coming in. There was a collision with him and Mikko Rantanen. There's some people that jump into conclusions saying Mikko Rantanen, dirty player, all of a sudden, dirty play. That's a bunch of nonsense. I mean, that's just, incidental contact there. It's unfortunate accident. Unfortunate that it means Darcy Kemper's got to leave the game, but Forsberg comes in. Dallas ends up tying it, going ahead 2-1. What a goal to put it away by the aforementioned Mikko Rantanen, which I'm sure made all the people pissed off and upset that he should have been thrown out of the game, even more upset seeing him score a beauty of a goal like that in the third period to put it away and win 3-1. So, death taxes and Kings lose. That's what I said on Twitter, and that's what we've become used to. It's just a bad hockey team. Let's call it like we see it. They're a bad fucking hockey team right now, the Los Angeles Kings, okay? I'm sick of, people saying, oh, they're better than this. We're waiting and waiting. No, they're a bad hockey team right now.
And they might get worse based on what JD just said in the chat.
Yes. Kemper on IR and Phoenix Copley. Copley Gentleman's Apparel from here in the Hamilton area. There's a Copley Gentleman's Apparel. Yeah, well, Phoenix Copley has been recalled, and that guy is, let's put it this way, if you're going to bank on him for wins moving forward, a little dicey with that. He's capable maybe on a one-off start, but you want to consistently count on Phoenix Copley in net, long-term? No. You definitely don't want to be doing that. But hell of a Monday night. I mean, we did end up sprinkling on Dallas a little bit pregame, but unbelievable night. Just tremendous. Like, every game we ended up profitable. And like I said, a great Monday night for what was a small card. Alex, your thoughts on Monday?
I'm not much more to add. I mean, you pretty much covered it. Like I said, we completely crushed it with that Florida look. And, we always talk about, and I know you being a guy, a disciple of Teddy Covers, always talked about cluster injuries. We don't get them too often in hockey, but we had it in this spot for sure with Tampa Bay. 4 defensemen, that's insurmountable for almost any team in this league. And especially a team that's had all kinds of injury issues on top of it already, never mind missing their number one goalie. So you're talking about 5 of your top starting defensemen if you include your number one goaltender out. That's just hard to surmount, especially with a Florida team that's rolling and a Florida team that always sees red whenever they're playing the team in blue and white. So, Florida getting the job done, that was great for the bankroll for sure. That Dallas game, we had it capped perfectly if it was still Kemper and Ottinger and DeSmith rather for 60 minutes. But once, you get Kemper out of that game, and it's Forsberg, and Forsberg's been shaky. I know you've been fading him. He's definitely a guy worth fading, and now he's going to be the number one goalie moving forward. There's nothing to do but fade Kings at this point. It'll be Kings or pass, opponent team totals, first goal, first period for the opponents, things of that nature with LA. And yeah, Rich, great question. How does Jim Hiller still have a job? I guess at this point he's going to be saved by Christmas, and they're not making any changes for the holidays. They don't want to be those kind of assholes to fire somebody on Christmas. But as bad as he's played, he doesn't deserve to have a job during the holidays. I'm sorry. Let's just keep it like it is. He's done a terrible job. It's only going to get worse now when you're missing your number one goal.
It's a great point by Jonathan. Why was no one, and it, like I said, it was not intentional. Like Ranton was not trying to deliberately injure or hurt Darcy Kemper, but someone's got to get in there and step in and say, hey, get away from our goalie, and nobody did that. Nobody did that for the Los Angeles Kings. And you're right. There's a true and utter disconnect right now. Except Perry. Perry flapped his gums from the bench, I guess, toward Ranton, and that's about it. But that's not much.
And you have to know that, especially too, when you have goalies, there are some goalies who won't have, I won't say a lack of awareness in that aspect, but they're not going to, if a guy skates up and sprays them with ice, they're not going to just automatically get up and throw their blocker in somebody's face. He's not a confrontational goalie, Darcy Kemper. So unless you have that kind of bite to you as a goaltender, then your team has to be aware of that and step in for you in certain spots. And yeah, that's certainly the case.
With one exception, I will say this, and for the most part he is, but he's not totally a saint, Darcy Kemper. I do remember him sticking that leg out on David Pasternak there at the end of that Boston game. I do remember that was a little bit of a sleazeball move there by Darcy Kemper. But, for the most part, he's been pretty calm. But, yeah, definitely interesting. And unfortunately for the Kings now, like I said, you've got Forsberg and Copley now as your 2 goalies. Yeah, that is a rough spot. For a team that can't score goals half the time, yeah, that's a rough spot to be in. Matt, your thoughts on last night? Of course, your Stars get a big win. I'm telling you what, Matt has displaced me as the over king of the Ice Guys crew. This guy bets more overs than me right now. He's betting more live overs like crazy. He's sending photos to Alex and I, these live overs he's hitting left and right. So, Matt, you're the new over king. I give you the crown.
I don't know about that, but it has been good lately. But yeah, overall, great night. Likewise to you guys. It's interesting in that Dallas game. I honestly thought Forsberg kept LA in the game. I mean, Dallas had, when it was 1-1, there was 3 or 4 big chances for Dallas, and Forsberg kind of hung in there. But going into the game, I had 5 plays in the Stars game. One ended up being a push. I had team total over 3, 3.5, and 4. But I did live bet when it was 1-1. I live bet over 4.5 plus 120. Because it just, after Dallas tied it up and started building that momentum, and it was Matt Duchene that scored, which was obviously a good piece for them. I just felt like things were going to open up a bit, and Dallas has had a lot of games where it's in tight into the third, and then they score 3 goals. So had puck line, had regulation wins, so both of those were hits. And then I was talking before the show, but I had a little parlay with the Florida over 5.5. The St. Louis over 5.5, Anaheim team total over 2, which getting those 2 empty nets at the end helped push that from a push to an over, and then Dallas money line. So that was another nice hit. And then your joke about the live overs, I was up, so I was in a good spot at the end of the hockey card. Flipped over to basketball. I was watching a little of the Mavs Utah game. Decided to throw a little live over, but it was pretty juiced, so I bought a couple points down. bought the over in another game, and both games end up going to overtime. So both cleared the live over pretty easily. So that was a nice little into the night. But yeah, and now we've got a 10-game card here for this Tuesday. We've got a bet cast, so hopefully going to ride that momentum right into tonight's card and have another good night all around.
No doubt. Looking forward to tonight's card for sure. It's a big one. And like I said, the betcast, there's a lot of really intriguing games. Obviously, we've got, we're going to start off the Tuesday card with an original 6 matchup, Chicago and Toronto, but you've got that. You got Islanders, Red Wings, 2 teams in good form head to head. You've got obviously Anaheim, Columbus is interesting. Philly, Montreal, where we've got Jacob Fowler in net once again for the Habs. You've got the new look Vancouver Canucks against the Rangers. You got Jari and Skinner head to head, the 2 goalies facing their former teams tonight. Oilers and Penguins, that's an interesting matchup. Washington, Minnesota is suddenly interesting now because those are 2 good teams. And now with, Quinn Hughes on the Minnesota Wild. So there's a lot of intrigue tonight on the card. So very much looking forward to it. We will begin in Toronto, where we have the Chicago Blackhawks taking on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Toronto minus 200 home favorites, 5.5 the total here in this game. This should be fascinating, of course. The preamble to this game, even away from the 2 teams on the ice, is the fact that the Leafs will have a special ceremony for Joe Bowen, their 44-year voice of the team from 1982 until now. And this will be his final season on the mic as the voice of the Toronto Maple Leafs. And I'm here to tell you this right now. Obviously, I'm located an hour away from Toronto. So obviously, it's Leaf region, television-wise. So we've gotten, obviously, all the access to Leaf games and heard tons of Joe Bowen in the 40 years that I've been alive. Obviously, he's about as good as it gets as a play-by-play voice in this league for a specific team. And I would say that even if I was living in Los Angeles right now, or Dallas, or Chicago, or Minnesota, where Alex is, even if I wasn't exposed to the Toronto Maple Leafs on a daily basis as much as I have been, I would say that about Joe Bowen. He's that freaking good. And he's had an outstanding career. And like I said, that'll be nice. And the reason they picked this game to do this, pregame ceremony for Joe Bowen is because his first game in the booth was Chicago Stadium, 1982, Chicago and Toronto. Now, here's another thing. Unfortunately, he probably, he's not going to Chicago this year because they don't send, I don't know if everyone knows this, they don't send Joe Bowen and his partner, Jim Ralph, on the road, the Leafs. It's awful. It's an absolute travesty. It's a disgrace. They do not travel for road games. This Toronto Maple Leaf outfit, for some reason, will not send Joe, and it's been this way for a couple of years now. They will not send Joe Bowen and Jim Ralph, their radio crew, on the road. It's they do it from a studio or wherever they do the road games. It's ridiculous. And Joe Bowen actually had a great tweet the other day. Dan Dunleavy of the Sabres, their television voice, he, I guess, posts a Twitter post about Seattle's arena, Climate Pledge Arena, saying what a great, beautiful arena it is. Look at our broadcast location. Look at how nice it is in this beautiful new arena here in Seattle. And Joe reposts that by Dunleavy and said, that Climate Pledge Arena, Dan, looks great. I've never been in that arena before. Because he's referencing the fact they don't send Joe Bowen and Jim Ralph, the radio play-by-play, the radio broadcast team of the Leafs, on the road. It's a disgrace. It's a complete friggin' disgrace. And the Leafs should be ashamed that they allow that to happen. That's utterly absurd. And it's
even if you wanted to make that a thing moving forward, but for his last year, and certainly in certain cities like New York and Chicago and Montreal and the pillars of the league, why would you not? And like you said, new places like Utah and Seattle, so he can have those on his list of places he's called games over the years. I think that's bullshit. That's bullshit on the Leafs.
You can't be that cheap, please. You're the Toronto Maple
Leafs. All the fucking money they got, that's ridiculous.
You're one of the most, valuable. You're worth as much as any. You're top.
The Yankees of hockey.
Yeah,
the Yankees of hockey.
You're top 10 in the world as far as your worth as a franchise because you're the Toronto freaking Maple Leafs, even though you haven't won jack shit in, going on 60 years now. So like I said, that's embarrassing. That's 100% awful that they're doing that with, and it's been not just this year. This has been like for a few years. I definitely know that's been this way since the pandemic, where they have not sent Joe Bowen and Jim Ralph on the road for road games, the radio crew, which is ridiculous. Anyway, before we get to Chicago, Toronto, they're going to obviously do a video montage. They'll play all the highlights and all the great calls. This is the call that stands out. This is 1993, okay? Joe Bowen had been the voice for 11 years by this time, and they were 11 lousy, pathetic, horrific years of Toronto Maple Leafs hockey because they were terrible in the 80s. Awful team. One of the worst teams in the NHL. It was the end of the Ballard ownership run. And he was, he didn't give two shits about winning. He just wanted to make it all about him and the team and just create stories that get the Toronto Maple Leafs in the news. That's what it was all about. Winning, he was cheap. He never paid coaches. He never paid GMs. He never paid players what they deserved. And that's why they never got any good players when Ballard owned that team. And I still stress this. Watch that documentary on Ballard if you haven't already. It was really, really good. But 11 years of being a terrible hockey team, the Leafs, they finally make the playoffs in 93 because Cliff Fletcher comes in, trades for Dougie Gilmour. Doug Gilmour arrives on the scene, and then they finally make the playoffs, and they play the Detroit Red Wings because it was the Norris Division, semifinals they called it back then in 1990. It was a great series. It went to Game 7, and it went to overtime in Game 7, and the Leafs ended up winning. And it was the first big win in the Toronto Maple Leafs that the Leafs had. Certainly since Bowen became the voice of the team in 1982. So this was the overtime goal scored by one Nikolai Borshevsky for the Leafs in 93 to beat the Detroit Red Wings. And it was just not a great call by Joe Bowen. Here it is.
Gilmour to Bobby Rose. Shot scores! Nikolai Borshevsky has scored for Toronto. The Leafs win. The Leafs win! Gilmour.
That's the one that always stands out to me. Just the incredible enthusiasm and excitement and passion that he had. And like I said, since Bowen had been the voice, that was by far the only signature big time win the franchise had. Finally made the playoffs and finally got a first round victory in overtime. And that's the year, of course, they got to the conference finals. They played Wayne Gretzky and the LA Kings. Barry Melrose rocking the mullet behind the bench back then for the Kings, and it ended in heartbreak in a Game 7 against the Kings. And we were that close to getting Montreal-Toronto that year in the Stanley Cup final. But alas, it wasn't meant to be. But that call stands out along with many others from Joe Bowen. So to see him get his tribute tonight will be great. As far as the game on the ice here, Chicago and Toronto, lots of things to sift through. We know Connor Bedard's out long-term, and it looks like didn't Dr. Ian nail it? He said separated shoulder is what it looked like the moment he got injured, and that's exactly what it was. That's been the diagnosis for number 98, Connor Bedard, so he'll be missing here tonight. As far as Toronto's concerned, Joseph Woll returning from his absence. He will make the start tonight for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and obviously happy to have him back, especially considering the way he was playing in net for the Leafs before his injury. So like I said, should be interesting to see how he fares. Craig Berube, and he's done this before, is called out his team a couple of times because it's been certainly a rocky season for the Leafs, and he did it after the Edmonton game, which was quite honestly horrendous, especially in the third period when it totally got away from the Leafs. Calling out the leaders, Austin Matthews, William Nylander, John Tavares. And even John Tavares hasn't had a very good month of December, like everybody, saying we need more from them, and they've got to take the reins of this thing right now, and starting tonight. So we'll see if they heed those words, and it's all about mindset, he said. And Alex used that word recently, mindset. When you're struggling, you don't have the mindset to power through and get it back on track. It's about a mindset that you will not be denied. And I think all those guys, especially, Matthews and Nylander, because at least Tavares has had some good moments this year, they need to show more of that. I dabbled in Toronto first goal, first period tonight. I think that's not a bad option. You got to lay a little price. Usually I like it getting a plus price, but I think that makes sense. I could see them having a strong start. The first period puck line, I dabbled a little bit in that too with Toronto. You can get that at a plus price. As far as winning the game, I'm not going that far. And I'm especially not interested at minus 200. But I think in that first 20 minutes, you'll see a little something from the Leafs here early, especially after a direct message sent by the head coach to his top players and his leadership group coming off the Edmonton debacle on Saturday. Plus, for Chicago, there's going to be some transition here to adjusting to no Bedard and now going on the road here. And here's another situation for Chicago. Levshinov here, the defenseman, being reprimanded by Jeff Blashill for missing, a meeting. So there you go. End up being a healthy scratch tonight for Chicago in this game. So my looks are all first period here. First goal, first period, Leafs on the first period puck line for Toronto in this game. And, of course, with the BetCast, if we get through the first period and hopefully win one or both of those, we can pivot and look to see what we might attack as far as a live betting situation is concerned, second period and beyond. Alex, what do you think here, Chicago, Toronto?
Yeah, this is one I'm looking forward to having as a BetCast game, because with this low of a number for the total, I love the over trifecta, but we can wait for everything in game. 5.5 minus $1.15. That's a decent price. Grab a piece of it now, but we want to hammer that once it gets in the plus money territory. Seeing first period over at minus $1.24. Both teams to score as high as plus 172. The Hawks have been abysmal on the road defensively, and now with no Levshinov and no Bedard as well, you worry about the offensive production. But I think this is going to be a back and forth game. Like I said, based on what Toronto's saying, trying to get back into the mindset of playing their game, getting their offense rolling. This is a perfect spot and a perfect team to do it with. Would have been even better if it had been a Soderblom start, which I think that was the reason why we saw his price open a little bit higher. There could have been a potential of Soderblom getting this game again because of his high numbers against Toronto. But they did more than likely are going with Spencer Knight. I'm still fine with looking at the over, but like I said, grab small pieces now of the best prices you can find. Look to hammer more in game. I have a bargain bin selection from this game.
There we go. Good stuff. Yeah, minus 105 is the price with the Leaf first goal, first period that I took. And again, you can get the first period puck line as well for the Leafs at a pretty solid price as well in that plus 130, 135 range is what we're looking at there with that. And then we'll see what happens beyond that. But like I said, if you don't have a good first 20 minutes coming off what happened Saturday against Edmonton, especially the top players who just got, basically the coach saying we need a whole lot more out of you, then there's real problems here with the Toronto Maple Leafs. What do you think here, Matt? Chicago, Toronto?
This will probably be a live look for me. I lean Toronto as far as the actual game goes, but not at minus 200. I tried to even look at potentially a Toronto team total, but over 3 is still minus 175. I was looking at trends for their last 10. Three of the last 6 have gone over, and it's alternated each time, and they're technically due for an over 6 game. So if you're a big trend person, which I'm not usually, that is something to kind of look at. But I think I agree with Alex. I think given that it's a 5.5, you might be able to get a plus price or even a 5 at some point in the first period. So this will be something that I look at live. I don't think I'll have anything pregame here.
There are definitely some props I like here for this game. I'm going to go with Tyler Bertuzzi. Remember, he was a former Leaf back in Toronto, so why not? He's up there on the top line with, it looks like, Frank the Tank Nazar and Andrei Burakovsky going to make up that top line with Bertuzzi here tonight in this game. Maybe Ilya Mikheyev, another former Leaf.
The bigger changes are between the second and third lines. Those are being shaken around by Blashill.
Yes, no doubt. I'm looking at Moore, Green, Lardis, Colton Dock, Dominic Toninato, who was just recently called up, and Ryan Donato. Pizza Hands, as Jonathan's now calling him, for that's the Ohio pizza joint, Donato's Pizza we're referencing with that. But a little shake up there with the bottom 6 for Chicago. I mean, for Toronto, I like what Jonathan's thinking with Nick Robertson, because you're right, Nick Robertson's had success against Chicago. He scored in Chicago, I know, when these teams played earlier this year. So that's not a bad look. But really, other than that, this could be a night where focus on Nye, as Matt, coach basically said, hey, get your asses in gear. So we'll see if they respond and play like it here tonight. Your Matthews, your Nylanders, your Tavares, guys like that. Even Morgan Riley to a certain degree needing to step up a bit. So like I said, should be an interesting game there tonight with the Blackhawks and Leafs. All right, next up, we've got the Islanders and Red Wings. We've got Detroit minus 135, home favorites, 6 the total here in this game. This is just an absolutely brutal spot to me for Detroit. They've been on the road for a long time, 6-game road trip. And if you actually look back even further, before the 6-game road trip, they were on the road back home, and then they started the 6-game road trip. So really, they've been traveling in between cities and in between games for like 8 straight now prior to this game tonight against the Islanders. So it's a very tricky spot. I guess the only thing I'm a little concerned about is the fact Detroit has lost twice now to the Islanders this year. So, they're probably going to want some redemption, but I don't know if the legs and the physical nature of this spot is going to allow them to respond the right way, because this is absolutely a very, very tough spot here for the Detroit Red Wings, coming home off a long, lengthy road trip like that, which is concerning. You got John Gibson, and now John Gibson's been better lately. There's no question, but something to keep in mind. He has played better. Ilya Sorokin's in net. He's obviously been great for most of the season for the New York Islanders. Of course, still without Bo Horvat for this game tonight. Matt Barzal has now shown up as a game-time decision here for the New York Islanders tonight. Hasn't been ruled out yet, though. Game-time decision for Barzal in this game. He'll take the ice for warm-ups, and then they'll make a decision on whether he is in the lineup. He's on a 4-game point streak right now, so certainly the Islanders want him in. Sir Patrick Kane will not play tonight for the Detroit Red Wings as well, so they are missing a key piece in the lineup. So this was a spot I had circled for a very long time. That Detroit coming off this 6-game road trip. We got another one of these later in the week with Buffalo. When you're talking about a season like this with the schedule condensed, you're playing even more games in a tighter window this time around. So like I said, that's a concern to me for Detroit here. And then I see the quote from Patrick Kane after he beat his old team Chicago Saturday night. And this quote, I'm like, geez, this is exactly the quote I want from a team I want to fade here tonight in the Detroit Red Wings. Quote is this: "That's a great trip. 6 games in 10 days with lots of travel. That's a real tough, but a real great trip. So to come out 4-1-1, I think we can be real happy with that." That's not a bet on quote. That's satisfaction. You're happy with a road trip like that right now if you're the Detroit Red Wings. So I love that. They're going to come home, and at the very least, I think early in the game, they're going to lay an egg. They're going to be awful in the first period. We've seen that with Edmonton off a 6-game roadie. We've seen that with the Islanders off a 6-game roadie. We've seen that with countless teams this year coming home when they've been on a road trip that long. So give me Islanders first goal, first period. Give me Islanders first period money line. Those primary looks more, the bigger bets, I should say. A little bit less on the Islanders full game money line. I like the first period looks even more here in this game. Yeah, that's where I'm at with this game. Totals wise, it could go either way. So I'm kind of neutral on the total. But like I said, I like the Islanders, especially early, and a little piece of them for the full game here as well. And plus, the Islanders have just dummied the Red Wings twice already this year. Had great success, and they're playing well. Give them credit. And they also don't have Horvat, and yet still finding ways to win and finding ways to score goals because Anders Lee is stepping up, and they're getting other contributions right now, which has been great to see for Patrick Waugh's team. Alex, what do you think here? Islanders, Red Wings.
Right there with you, leaning toward everything Isles first period, but I got a little more creative. I am on that first goal, first period, got plus 140. I went with first period alternate team total over 1.5, plus 350. And I have first period correct score, Isles 2-0, plus 1,400. All three of those are available at FanDuel. I definitely could see this being Isles domination early within the first 20 minutes. Then we're on the back cast. If we see Detroit maybe getting some energy, heading into the break, then we can shift course accordingly there. Might take a shot with the first goal score, but it won't be a bargain bin. That'll just be something that I'll have ready and add it, as we start up the bet cast. But definitely looking at all things Isles first period.
Yeah, definitely. I lean over. I'm going to look for a live over in game. Actually, I am going to probably sprinkle on a first period over just because I think the Islanders score early. And if you get one, there's a chance you get two. But I'm going to wait for the 5.5 with the live full game over. That's a good nugget. I agree. And I noticed that. John Leonard called up from Grand Rapids, 19 goals, leading the AHL in goals so far this season. And Todd McClellan's putting him right into the top 6. They've got him with Andrew Kopp and the Cat, Alex DeBrincat, on that second line tonight. So at that price, if you're getting, plus 725, north of plus 700, that's worth a shot. With John Leonard getting the opportunity here with the Detroit Red Wings. Again, the AHL goal-scoring leader prior to tonight's call-up to the Detroit Red Wings. Matt, what do you think here, Isles Wings?
Yeah, I'm on the first period over here. I agree the Islanders have trended well to it. If we get one in the first 5, we should get to 2 before the end of the period. And then I'm on Islanders money line and Islanders team total over 3, which is plus 100. Islanders money line obviously plus 115. I just think it's a tough spot for Detroit. I think the Islanders are playing pretty well. So given the price, I'm going to take a shot on the Islanders tonight.
Yeah, that's a good call. That's one of Hal's best contributions in the YouTube chat. They'll bring this guy up, Leonard, that is, but not Kosa. Lol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Oh, yeah, right. What, he's like 13-1 now?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean, look, Gibson's playing better, but come on. Like right now, it's the Talbot's still an inconsistent up and down mess right now. I think he's done enough at the American League level to at least get an opportunity. But you're not going to see it until one of them's hurt. Yeah.
12-1 with a 1.62 goals against in 3 shutouts, 939 save percentage.
Yeah, but can't get a sniff at the moment with the Red
More than
Wings.
likely, probably will end up being the AHL goalie of the year and MVP.
Yeah, it's possible. Like he has had a blazing start for the Grand Rapids Griffins for sure. And the
Griffins will lose in the second round of the playoffs like they always do too. So
yeah,
is that.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I'm over that. Whatever that is, the cold, the 6-7 nonsense. That's I've had enough of that. Even Joe Buck's spewing that on the broadcast on Monday Night Football last night. That thing's gotten carried away. No
it's
question.
Definitely anything Joe Buck says has jumped the shark.
Yeah, it's gotten carried away. All right, Utah and Boston. We've got pretty much even money here, minus 110, both sides in this game. The total sitting at 6 across the board, shaded to the over. Actually, some books have moved to 6.5. So make sure you shop around as far as the total in this game. If you like the under, find 6.5. If you like the over, find the 6s that are out there. I lean to the over here. I do like it. Just full game over. I did not take first period over in this game. Utah 4 straight overs going into this game. They're scoring again a little bit, and even without Logan Cooley, Dylan Guenther has decided, you know what? No Logan Cooley. I'm going to take things over. Michael Carcone, a couple others have also stepped up and chipped in for Utah during this stretch, which has helped them, but none more than Dylan Guenther, who's been great. 4-game goal-scoring streak, got the overtime winner against the Pittsburgh Penguins in that last game. So we'll see if Utah, with their little surge offensively, can keep it rolling here tonight in this game. You got a Boston Bruins team coming in here off a 6-2 loss to the Minnesota Wild on Sunday, looking to bounce back. And these two goaltenders, are trending downward a little bit, which is another reason why I kind of like the over. Oh, it's Vanacek. I was talking about Vejmelka for Utah, but it's not going to be Vejmelka. It's going to be Vanacek, who's just 2-6. With a 2.87 goals against, 878 save percentage. Like I said, definitely not great numbers. 0-6, by the way, in his last 6 starts. He's given up 19 goals, by the way, in his last 6 starts here, Vejmelka. So not exactly what you want to see, more than 3 goals allowed per game. And Jeremy Swayman, who's going to get the start here for Boston, started the year outstanding, but he's hit a bit of a speed bump here in December. Detroit lit him up. Got lit up by Minnesota, so there's been a couple of bumpy starts here for Swayman in the month of December. So over 6 for me. The side, I'd lean probably a little bit to the Utah side here, but don't love the price. I mean, if I get Utah to plus price at some point tonight, should they be trailing on the betcast, I might jump in, but will not bet Utah at this price pregame. Alex, what do you think here? Utah, Boston.
If you see me looking visibly frustrated, it's because I'm checking all these books, and now BetMGM is dealing the same bullshit sub 300 lines for the draw that we're seeing at FanDuel. So Caesars and Caesars and DraftKings are your best options for draw prices. MGM and FanDuel,
they've jumped the shark on us.
They've jumped the shark on us. So that's frustrating. But plus 310s are available with this draw. Definitely, please shop around if you can. Offshores, I'm seeing above 300 as well. But I do like the draw here in this. Waiting for that total pregame. Like I said, 6.5. Shop around if you want to grab something beforehand. But I'm going to wait for this to drop down. I think we have enough time. 5.5, and just not waiting for plus money either. 5.5 at minus 120. 125 will be my shot to jump in with on the betcast tonight. But draw pregame, please shop around.
Yeah, I have stayed away from FanDuel for a while with the draws because I've been able to get the better prices at BetMGM, DraftKings, but now BetMGM is starting to get those, FanDuel type prices. So I guess now it's DraftKings, and as you mentioned, maybe Caesars as well.
Caesars
try to get some better prices. But yeah, I think it's only a matter of time. I'll be honest. I think it's only a matter of time before DraftKings and Caesars step in compliance with everyone else, and we're not going to get as many of those plus 300 or better draw prices, which really friggin' stinks. It really
Shout out
does.
to our guy Addison.
But hey,
Caesars has the discrepancy that we always talk about with yes/no overtime versus three-way draw. Yes on yes/no for overtime is actually a higher price than the draw. So yes/no props at Caesars you want to look for. You're getting better value there. Everywhere else you might want to shop for a three-way.
Yeah, there you go. So again, the yes/no overtime. Again, worth checking that market with some of these books because you may get a better price with it there if you go that route as opposed to just three-way money line for the draw/overtime bet here moving forward. Matt, what do you think here, Utah-Boston?
Yeah, I'm on the over 6 here. I got it at minus 115 yesterday. It was one of my favorite plays of the day, honestly. Just looking at recent form, Boston's gone over 6 in 5 of their last 6. Utah has gotten to at least 6 in 4 straight. They did have one stop there at 6, but 3 of 4 have gone over. So it just feels, Boston got stomped on Sunday by Minnesota. Sorry, I was drawing a blank there. Utah had that crazy comeback game in Pittsburgh, down 3-0 going into the third, win 5-4. So I think Utah's feeling decent about themselves. Boston wants sort of a good comeback game. So I could make a case for the first period over here as well. I think both teams have reason to try and score in the first, but I may just keep it simple and just be on over 6 pregame, and then may look to live bet that during the show. If there's some pace to this and we don't get a goal in the first 5 or 6 minutes, you may be able to jump on a 5.5 on the off chance we do get like a 4-2 final. Then you hit your 5.5 bet, you push on your 6 bet, you end up with profit and you're happy. So that'll be the way I'll play it. I could see sides wise. I mean, I think Vegas did a good job because I think this is sort of a pick 'em. I mean, I could make a case for Boston after Sunday's game. I could make a case for Utah. They're playing pretty good. So I think it's sort of a toss up from a sides perspective. So over 6 will be it for me.
Yeah, there's a couple here, like as far as props. Like I said, they've dropped down the lineup. It looks like Steves and Minton. Those are 2 players we've looked at for Boston of late. You've got Geeky, Lindholm, Pasternak on the top line. Husnudinov with Zacha and Middlestat. So maybe the big man, Marat Husnudinov, worth a look potentially. Obviously, you got to bet. No, it's not a great price, but Dylan Guenther's scorching right now for Utah. He's definitely stepped up big time with Logan Cooley now on IR. So Dylan Guenther kind of stands out here for Utah to be worth a look here. Kyler Yamamoto's got points in back-to-back games, and one of those is a goal. So if you're looking for a down-the-radar shot, maybe this could be a Kyler Yamamoto type of spot here, maybe to take a shot for Utah. All right, Anaheim, Columbus. Columbus minus 140, home favorite, 6.5 the total. I definitely had a close eye on the Vegas-Columbus game, and we nailed the first goal, first period with Columbus there, first period money line. Had a smaller piece of the full game money line. They did not hang on after getting out to that 1-0 lead. Vegas won 3-2. I thought they deserved a better fate, Columbus. I thought they played a pretty good game against Vegas. Carter Hart was pretty good, and there were so many bad bounces of the puck for Columbus. They had chances galore. They hit a few posts. It's almost like the puck just was bound and determined to say, you know what, Columbus, fuck you. I'm not going in for you tonight, and you're not winning this hockey game. It's almost like the puck was saying that to Columbus. I mean, it was pretty insane with some of the chances they had, and the puck just would not go in for them against Vegas the other night. But it was certainly a game where, and Dean Evison certainly thought they deserved a better fate, certainly a better overall team effort and performance compared to the game against Ottawa, which got away from them early. Thanks to the shoddy efforts of Elvis Merzlikins. So we'll see if Columbus, even in a losing cause, their game was better against Vegas. If they can build on that, they certainly catch Anaheim in a bit of a tricky spot here. Second night of a back-to-back for the Anaheim Ducks here going into this game tonight. Jet Greaves is announced as the starter again for the Jackets here in this game tonight. You've got Ville Husso in net here for the Anaheim Ducks. Going into this game on the back-to-back. Mrazek still on IR, so we'll see how this one plays out. I'm going to run it back with Columbus first goal, first period tonight. That's the only pregame bet sidewise, but I like that. You know, you've got Ducks rolling in here on a back-to-back. We loved Anaheim last night, you know, and Anaheim could still come back and win this game because as we've seen with Columbus, you know, that's exactly what happened against Vegas. You know, Vegas came back and won that game. But like I said, I expect Columbus to get out to a good start again, get that first goal. So I'm going to be on that Jackets first goal, first period here again tonight. I'm going to be on the full game over as well, 6.5. The one thing about Anaheim is I went back and looked, they have not had back-to-back unders very often this season. And in fact, now they are finally off for one of the rare instances, back-to-back unders because the New Jersey game stayed under, the Ranger game stayed under. I don't think they've had 3 consecutive Anaheim games staying under the total yet this year. And so I kind of like the look at the 6.5 here. Plus, I look at that Vegas game and I said Columbus could have scored 5. They really could have. There were posts, multiple goal posts in that game. The puck, there was a puck lying in the crease. You know, it was there to be put in the net, and it was just, I think it hit a body of a Vegas player trying to stop it from going in. Like Columbus had so many great chances, and the puck just didn't go in. They generate that kind of quality tonight with an Anaheim team maybe a little fatigued on a back-to-back. You could see those chances go in a bit, and I think Anaheim can contribute a little bit. And I like Greaves, but still, that Columbus blue line in front of them is a little dicey. So over 6.5 for me, and I like the Columbus first goal, first period look as well. Everything else we do will be live. Alex, what do you think here? Anaheim, Columbus.
Yep, that's funny. I had Columbus first goal circled into Anaheim money line. That's literally what I had, and I had in my notes, and that was the thing. I was like, okay, with the betcast, we can wait and grab what now. If it's plus 120, it should be plus 160, maybe plus 170 in game. But I do like that with Columbus to get plus 105. I'm seeing it at MGM for Blue Jackets first goal in first period.
Another thing too to factor into this game as well is Husso on this road trip has given up the first goal 3 straight starts on the road trip. He gave up the first goal against Pittsburgh. He gave up the first goal against the New York Islanders. And he, that was Dostal against New Jersey. My bad. But he did, and they gave up the first goal, I believe, in that game. No, sorry. Anaheim scored the first goal against New Jersey. And that was Dostal anyway, so scratch that. The last 2 road starts by Husso on the road trip were the Pittsburgh game and the New York Islanders. And in those 2 games, Anaheim did give up the first goal against both the Penguins and the Islanders with Husso in net. So, again, if that pattern holds true to form, another reason why I like Columbus first goal, first period tonight. Matt, what do you think here? Anaheim, Columbus.
It's tough for me not to take a look at Anaheim. I think I am going to wait and bet it in game. I just think they're too good of a team when you're getting a plus 120 price against, you know, a middle of the pack to lower middle pack team. I know they're on the road. I know it's a back-to-back, but I would almost be shocked if they lose this game. It wouldn't be the biggest upset on the card or in the history of hockey or anything crazy like that. I just think that, they're a really good team and they're in good form. But I may wait in game, and especially given what you guys are looking at, I may see if Columbus can score an early goal and then live bet the Ducks and get, plus 200 if they're down 1-0 or plus 180, something in that range. But there's a couple games on the card that this falls into, but for me, this is a perfect Matty Rob special game. I'll be on first period full game over 5.5. You should be able to get that at, even money plus 102, I think is what I saw on MGM. But I think if you shop around, you should be able to get an even money price there. And then I may wait in game. And if we're watching this game, there's some pace to it. We get no goals the first few minutes. I may live bet an over 6. That way we get 2 in the first, maybe get to 7 total. We hit both bets. We're happy. But yeah, I think, this is just a prime game that I like it at 6.5. I think to, feel comfortable at a game getting to 7, you have to think that there's a decent chance that you get 2 in the first. And then if you lock in that 1.5, 5.5, and somehow we stop at 6, you're still profitable. So same game parlay will be my only pregame play. I lean Ducks here, but I am going to wait and see if there's some pace, maybe an early Columbus goal, and then it might be a good time to live bet the Ducks down 1-0.
Yeah, that's what makes the side tough. It's a Columbus spot. There's no doubt. It's a good Columbus spot. The rest advantage, Ducks on a back-to-back. That being said, Rich H, as he says, Ducks 7-1 their last 8 last 8 head-to-head. Sorry, that's not a back-to-back. That's last 8 head-to-head. But it is an advantage in the spot for Columbus. There's no question. And Jonathan's stat was a great one about the difference with home dog versus home favorite. So it's not just home road split. We're talking about favorite versus underdog split in a particular home and road. There's a difference. Trust me, I know. There's teams that are great home favorites, terrible home underdogs, or great, home underdogs and terrible home favorites. Great road favorites, terrible road underdogs, and vice versa. So the role matters. And Columbus is, I believe, 6-1 as a home favorite, and like one and something as a home dog. So there you go. When the Columbus is favored at home, they've been getting it done in these spots. So that's another thing to factor in. But I like the first goal, first period look. That's definitely the one that I like here with Columbus. I'm still not crazy about minus 140 pregame on the Jackets against a team like this, the Anaheim Ducks. As far as props go, I would look toward, for Anaheim, I think it's a Leo Carlson night, because usually he was a little quiet last night, but that doesn't usually happen 2 times in a row. McTavish, interesting as well. Seneca, we've mentioned. I like Shinikov for Columbus. Shinikov scored last game for the Jackets, plus 550 on the second line, and he scored previously against Anaheim. He scored in every game against Anaheim in his career, Igor Shinikov, if you can believe it. So for some reason, Shinikov likes playing the Ducks. He scored in every game that he's ever played against the Anaheim Ducks, and he scored last game for the Jackets. So Igor Shinikov's my favorite prop for the Jackets tonight in this game. All right, Philadelphia and Montreal. We've got Montreal minus 120, home favorites, 5.5 the total in this game. Kind of feels like we've gone long enough without betting a draw. Well, that's going to change right here with the Flyers and the Habs. I like the draw here in this game. It's got that feel to it. These teams have played some overtime games. They played in Philly earlier this year. That game went past regulation. And Philadelphia on a 3 consecutive game streak going past regulation with the draw cashing. So I think we've got a chance for that here. I like the idea of both of these goaltenders here as far as Vladar for Philly, who's been better than Ersson. And I think Rick Tockett's realizing that, because Vladar's starting to get more starts in net. And then, of course, Jacob Fowler in net for Montreal, where it's been a tale of 2 games for him. He played well, and the team defended well in front of him against Pittsburgh, winning his NHL debut. Not quite the same Fowler or team effort defensively around him against the Rangers on Saturday night when he was in net for that 5-4 overtime loss to the New York Rangers. Still not a Montreal team I'm anxious to bet against with Fowler in net, but I'm not going to take him either, minus 125 in this spot. Flyers are a team that's been in every single game lately. I could see that being the case. And like I said, they have been no strangers to going past 60 minutes. So the only pregame move here for me is the draw in this game. Everything else we look at will be live on tonight's BetCast. Alex, what do you think here? Flyers, Habs.
Yeah, I will be on some form of variant of the draw. Of course, like I said, this whole thing is now making my life a lot more difficult. More than likely, we'll have to look for that yes, no prop. But I definitely like this game going past regulation. I will be betting at FanDuel. What I've been betting the last couple of nights, we've split so far with it. Hit with Carolina, missed it with Dallas. But I like Montreal to win in overtime or a shootout and get that plus 500 at FanDuel. So I will have draw, and then I will have Montreal to win in overtime or shootout. Like I said, check the Patreon for all the clarifications of whether I have the actual three-way draw or the yes/no prop.
Now, regarding Alex liking Montreal to win in overtime or a shootout, which is a market he's been betting a lot more lately. Yes, Philadelphia has gone past regulation in 3 straight games. Well, guess what? They didn't win any of those games.
Yep.
So they've done a nice job losing in overtime or a shootout here in the last 3 games. So there's a lot of sense to that. Alex going in that direction there with Montreal to win in overtime or shootout. You got Philly struggling to win these games in overtime or a shootout, and Montreal's been, for the most part, pretty good overtime. Now, they did lose to the Rangers, but they have had a lot of overtime shootout success this year as well, the Montreal Canadiens. Matt, what are you liking here, if anything? Philly, Montreal.
So I really like the full game over in this one, but I am going to wait a few minutes and try and get even money at that 5.5. Series history, the last 5 games between these teams, 4-1 to the over, a combined 43 goals. So they're averaging over 8 goals a game in their last 5 head-to-head games. So I know that, you can only look at series history so tightly. It is a new year. I mean, the last game 5-4, which happened in early November. So they have had an over this season. But I do think both goalies are playing solid. So I think that's why the number is what it is. But just based on that, 48 goals, 43 goals over the last 5 games. And I'm seeing a 5.5. I'm going to take a shot at the over here. But because it's a betcast night, I'll probably wait until, 5-10 minutes of real time into this game. Get a few minutes of game time off the board, and then hope to get, plus money at 5.5.
Yeah, as far as props here for this one, Bolduc for Montreal, Kapanen, Demidov streaky, and they've told Demidov, start shooting the fucking puck more. And he finally did the other night and scored. And it was a beautiful shot that he had against Edmonton on Sunday in their last game. So maybe Demidov, starts to listen, that, hey, I know you can see the ice well and play make, and you're a great passer. Shoot that puck a little bit more. Maybe you can look toward that. Yeah, Konechny, Zegras, point props for Jonathan. Trevor Zegras in particular has a 3-game goal streak right now for the Philadelphia Flyers. So that's something that might be worth a look here tonight as well. All right, Vancouver Canucks and New York Rangers next up. Rangers -115, -120 home favorites. Total here sitting at 5.5 across the board. This kind of feels like the Habs Rangers spot where I was trying to catch lightning in a bottle with the Habs with Jacob Fowler after his cashing a ticket with Montreal in his NHL debut, beating Pittsburgh, and I wanted to run it back with Montreal. And of course, we saw the Rangers win in overtime in that game. This feels like the same situation where I want to go against the Rangers here with the same team in the same situation. Vancouver trying to catch lightning in a bottle here. A little bit of adrenaline, a little bit of a re-energized hockey team, thanks to the Quinn Hughes saga being behind them and the infusion of the new faces, Marco Rossi, Liam Ogren, Zeev Buium to this Vancouver Canucks team. And we saw that against New Jersey. There was energy. That was a solid, very, very good road effort from the Vancouver Canucks. Now, can they build on that? Was it a one-off, or can they actually sustain it and start to build a little bit here? They've certainly got, themselves the rest advantage here because they played Sunday in New Jersey. Now you're playing a Tuesday night in New York. No air travel. Pretty much staying in the same hotel, probably. Just a short little trip there to get to Madison Square Garden. So from all indications, like I said, it sets up pretty well for Vancouver. And you got the Rangers on a back-to-back playing Anaheim last night. So we'll see how this plays out. I did bet Vancouver pregame. A smaller bet because, coming off the loss last night, I do worry the Rangers have a strong start. So I feel like I'll only bet Vancouver smaller amount pregame. We can add to it if the Rangers have the lead, at some point during the betcast tonight. By the way, Thatcher Demko in net for Vancouver. He's looked pretty solid his last couple starts, getting better and stronger. Jonathan Quick will get the nod for the Rangers. He has not started a whole lot lately. That being said, he's played pretty solid, when we've seen him in net this year for the New York Rangers. The problem is, like it always is with the Rangers, especially at MSG, they don't score half the time for their goalies and don't give them the goal support they need. So I'm going to bet Vancouver pregame a little bit plus 100 here. A little draw, too. I don't like this draw as much as the Montreal draw, but I did bet a little draw here in this game as well. We can add on to the Vancouver position if they're trailing at any point during the game tonight, but that's where we're at. Alex, what do you think? Canucks, Rangers.
Yeah, this is one where I also have draw circled in some fashion. I will be looking, though, at a bargain bin player from this game as well. I have 2 bargain bins. One is coming from this contest.
Good stuff there. Yeah, according to Terry Ray Vegas, too, Rangers 0-5 their last 5 on a back-to-back. Second night of a back-to-back. So not what you want to see, obviously, if you're a Ranger fan, those back-to-back struggles of late. Matt, what do you think here, Canucks, Rangers?
I'm also on the Canucks here, just given the spot and given sort of the momentum from the trade. They had the win Sunday. I don't think it's a longevity play. I don't think the Canucks are going to win their next 20 games or anything like that. But I think when you have a recent trade, some new guys, some new energy, it can sort of boost things. And, we know how New York is at home. They played pretty flat yesterday. And, given the back-to-back angle, I am going to split it up. Vancouver money line, Vancouver team total over 3, which is plus 105. I know Jonathan Quick, who isn't confirmed yet, but it's likely going to be Quick since it's the back-to-back. He's played, well this season, but he has given up 3 goals in the last 2 games that he was in net for. So I think if Vancouver gets it done, I think they can get to 3 goals. So when you take a team total over, and I could pay a little juice and take the 2.5. I could obviously bump it up to 3.5. When you take a 3, it does end up being a push bet, but that's why, if this game ends 3-1, we hit a game, we push a game, we're still in the green. So that's how I'll play it pregame.
There we go. Good stuff indeed. Second game back from injury. This is like we don't have, a strong data as far as current form, obviously, because he's been injured and he only played his first game back and with the Canucks last game. But I just have a feeling it could be a night for Marco Rossi to get on the scoreboard. So we'll dabble in the Marco Rossi prop. If you want to take Zeev Buium again, like you're getting plus 950, see if he can just all of a sudden, find a little bit of a surge here from a goal scoring standpoint in his initial sojourn here in his first few games with the Vancouver Canucks. But those are a couple that I might be looking toward as far as props on the Vancouver Canucks side of the equation. For the New York Rangers, obviously, when you look at them, it's definitely been tough sledding scoring on home ice throughout most of the season. We'll see if they can step up. You do have JT Miller against the Canucks. So if you're going to look towards someone possibly for the New York Rangers tonight, maybe JT Miller against his old team. And yes, I don't mind what Rich is saying. Mika Zibanejad, disciplinary reasons, didn't play last night. Mike Sullivan sitting him down for missing a meeting. And from that standpoint, maybe tonight back in the lineup, we always say, especially when you screw up and you're back in the lineup after being a healthy scratch, you want to make it up to your team. You want to make it up to your coaching staff. And what better way to do that for DJ Z-Bands, as we've said, as we call him in the past, Mika Zibanejad, maybe to do that by scoring a goal tonight. So maybe the goal prop for Mika is worth a look as he looks to try to, like I say, right the wrongs of his little, faux pas there, missing the team meeting with the New York Rangers, which made him a healthy scratch last night against Anaheim. All right, next up, we've got Edmonton and Pittsburgh. Edmonton minus 140, road favorites, 6.5 the total. This is the first game of tonight's TNT doubleheader. You got to love Turner and the way they're treating the NHL with the respect they should be getting from their broadcast partners. Doubleheader tonight, doubleheader tomorrow night as well for TNT, which is great. This is the first game of the doubleheader, and we're going to get the matchup we all wanted to see, guys. We all wanted to see it. Tristan Jarry, now with the Edmonton Oilers, formerly of the Pittsburgh Penguins, and Stuart Skinner, now of the Pittsburgh Penguins, formerly of the Edmonton Oilers. So we've got these two teams against one another, or these two goalies facing each other here once again tonight. So very much looking forward to that TNT national game. So like I said, I'm sure a lot of us on the Betcast tonight are certainly going to be keeping a close eye on this game. Regarding the remember I mentioned this about TNT last Wednesday. Going into last Wednesday, it was 9-0, the run for overs in TNT games. 9-0 going into last Wednesday. Well, last Wednesday, both TNT games stayed under the total. So there goes that. That streak is over now. No pun intended. Chicago, they Rangers, 3-0 Chicago last Wednesday. And the other TNT game was LA-Seattle. And that game ended 3-2 Seattle. So it's still 9-2 for overs in the last 11 NHL on TNT games. But the 9 consecutive overs came to an end with that 2 unders in the TNT games last Wednesday, which were Hawks Rangers and Kings Kraken. You know, like I said, that whole trend anyway is just, I think, kind of happenstance a little bit. You knew at some point, it was going to level off like that. I think there's some truth to the fact that maybe some players want to put on more of a show when they're on national TV, and maybe they open the game up a little bit more. But I think blindly betting over trend because it's a TNT game, that's stretching it a little bit if you plan on doing that. That being said, 9-2 is still in the last 11. I think you have, I've gone back and forth on this. Do the teams dig in for their goalies facing their old team and defend, and defend hard? Or is this advantage for both teams scoring-wise because they know the weaknesses of Skinner? Edmonton knows the weaknesses of Stu Skinner inside and out. Pittsburgh knows the weaknesses of Tristan Jarry inside and out. And so from that standpoint, does that lead to more success? And then you couple that with Pittsburgh's defensive, shortcomings right now. They can't hold a lead, blowing leads left and right, collapsing in the third period multiple times. How do you trust the Pittsburgh Penguins to play solid defense? Now, they are going to get Brett Kulak in the lineup making his debut, and he's going to help. I actually like the way he's played in Edmonton, so that's going to help them a little bit, but that's not going to stop Carlson from being a mess in his own end. That's not going to stop Letang, who's been, by the way, the Penguins faithful. They love Letang. He's been a lifelong Penguin. They can't take it anymore of this defensive nonsense from him. It's been bad. It's been real bad at times from Chris Letang in his own zone, especially during some of these recent collapses and recent losses. So, like I said, I went back and forth. I ended up kind of leaning more toward, they know what the goaltender's strengths and weaknesses are. The Pittsburgh defense is a mess right now anyway. You got Edmonton off a loss to Montreal where they only scored 1 goal. And usually when they're off a low-scoring loss, Edmonton looks to push more for offense. So I ended up landing on the over. Not my favorite over on this card by any stretch of the imagination, but I did land on that. I'm going to run it back again. I think the Pittsburgh script, until it changes, I'm running it back again, guys. Give me Pittsburgh first goal of first period, and we're going to look to live bet Edmonton if Pittsburgh gets the lead at any point. We're not screwing around. You have zero confidence. I do. Zero confidence right now in this Pittsburgh team holding a lead, especially with Edmonton when they've still got, obviously, McDavid, Draisaitl, Hyman, guys that can put the puck in the net right now for them. So that's the full game over. Pittsburgh first goal, first period, and we're going to live bet Edmonton at any moment they're behind. Anytime I see Edmonton plus price and they're trailing, that's a live Edmonton bet for me. Who the hell trusts Pittsburgh holding a lead right now? I'm sure their coach doesn't even trust them right now with a lead. Alex, what do you think? Oilers, Penguins.
This is one where I'm going to kind of have a little protection trying to grab a better over. I'm going to take a shot with first goal in first 5 minutes. Yeah. Here you can grab that at plus 146. Yeah, plus 146. And I might tail a little bit of that first goal, first period with Pittsburgh. Like I say, kind of looking to grab Edmonton back at some point. But like I said, with the 2 collapses, we've seen Pittsburgh play a great first period. So that may not come right away. It may not be, as soon as Pittsburgh scores, we run and grab Edmonton. We might be able to, maybe grab Pittsburgh to score 2 goals in the first period. We can play with it live, and then second period, we can start kind of leaning more toward Edmonton, especially if we start to see what we've seen the last 2 games of Pittsburgh, where it's just been, great momentum, and they just haven't been able to consistently keep that afloat.
Yeah, no question. And like I said, these last 2 games, and you know what? I am actually going to take the draw here. I'm just looking at it. I was leaning to the draw. Now I see Pittsburgh, 4 of the last 5 games for them have gone past regulation. So this is another draw ticket that I'll add to the card here, Oilers and Penguins. That's a great point by Chris Otto. It's good to see him in the chat. I know he doesn't get a chance to jump in the chat every show because he's on the road traveling and busy with other stuff. But like I said, that's a great thought. We're not going to just Okay, 1-0 Pittsburgh, hammer Edmonton. Absolutely not. Little bit on Edmonton if they're down 1-0. Wait for maybe a 2 or 3 goal lead possibly to occur for Pittsburgh. And then we might go with bigger positions when the lead gets bigger, if it gets bigger at any point for Pittsburgh, because we know they can blow a multiple goal lead. They've done it multiple times. So no doubt, just incremental bets if Pittsburgh gets the lead, with the hope and the thought that maybe they get a 2 or 3 goal lead, and then we open the door for a bigger plus price and see if Pittsburgh has another issue, coming, collapsing and letting another lead slip away. What do you think here, Matt? Edmonton, Pittsburgh.
Yeah, this is another Matty Rob special prime game. I think, first period full game. I do think he gets to the over. You mentioned the goalie factor. That's definitely an angle I'm looking at. I'll be looking to get a better price at maybe a 6 if there isn't a goal, right out of the gate. But I do think, I've played in, adult league.
I was going to say, you're the guy that's played hockey. I'll ask you, do you think it's an advantage offense, advantage forwards, advantage the players on the ice rather than the goalies, that they're facing a guy that they know really well?
I do. And I don't think that discredits the fact that both goalies will want to play well. I think there's definitely motivation on both ends, especially, the way Skinner was kind of pushed out by the crowd, by the town. There was frustration with players at times. So there's no doubt there's added motivation. And would I be shocked if both goalies played well? No, not at all. But I do think, the angle of shooting on the same guy for multiple years, or even like in my situation, I've played beer league games with really bad goalies that give up really bad goals, and it's frustrating. And then you play a couple weeks later and they're playing for the other team and you're like, hell yeah, it's going to be a point night. So, it's hockey. It doesn't mean that this game couldn't be a 2-1 overtime game, but I think that given both teams' offensive capabilities, how they're scoring currently, both teams defensively not being great, it's not like Stuart Skinner was so bad and Edmonton's D was shutting the door, and that, he's now in Pittsburgh and their D are shutting the door. I think both teams have question marks in the D zone. And so, when you have a struggling D core and you have McDavid and Draisaitl on a 2-on-1 coming down the ice, I mean, it doesn't matter if you're Skinner or Patrick Waugh, it's going to be tough to make that play sometimes. So I like the over here. Partially, the TNT angle. I know we were 9-0 and then we missed both last week, but I do like it. It's still pretty high overall. I forget what the overall number is, but I know we're obviously at 9-2 in the last 11.
13-8-1.
13-8-1. So, it's still quite a bit over 500. And I know we've got 2 games tonight. Another angle I may look at is, just because this is 6.5, is I may take this TNT game and the late TNT game and bring them both down to 5.5. You should get a good plus, 160 plus 200 price, just to have both of them get to 6. So, but yeah, I like the over here. I'm going to same game parlay it, and then I'm going to look live. This will obviously be a game that everyone's watching, given that it's on national TV. So, I think it's a good live betting opportunity. If we get a few minutes, maybe the goalies do play well on the first couple shots. And then once, both teams do score, we might see some floodgates open on both ends.
Good stuff. As far as props go, I'm going to run it back with Vasily Podkolzin again. It's on the second line. He's been, heating up lately for Edmonton. Matt Savoy with Draisaitl, probably worth a look. Of course, they've got Nuge, McDavid, Hyman still as the top line right now for this Edmonton Oilers team. And Spencer Stastny as well, who they got in a recent deal as well. Edmonton, he'll be on the blue line tonight for them. Pittsburgh, Raquel, Crosby, Rust. It looks like Rutger McGroarty with Kindle and Brazeau. I think that line could actually make something happen. So any of those 3, I don't mind it, with McGroarty, with Kindle, and with Brazeau right now for those teams. So definitely, like I said, worth a look. And by the way, Hyman and Rust on 3-game goal streaks right now for their respective teams. All right, Washington and Minnesota. This is a pretty good game too. Minnesota minus 115 home favorite, 6 the total in this game. I ended up, and here's my theory with Minnesota. Maybe this is dead wrong. We've thought of Minnesota lately, especially kind of low and slow, defensive-minded. I think that's going to change a little bit now with Quinn Hughes on the back end. It's just so much more mobility, right? More mobility, more puck movement. You're not in your own zone as much, more offensively dynamic, with Quinn Hughes now on this blue line for Minnesota. And I think you could start to see that. And we saw it against Boston. Obviously, they had 6 goals. That doesn't happen every day for Minnesota scoring 6 goals, and they were able to do that in Quinn Hughes' debut. I think that could continue. I've got Minnesota circled for some short-term overs for them of late. And I got in at 5.5 with this before everything was announced as far as the goaltending was concerned. But I bet Washington, Minnesota over 5.5, minus 130 earlier today, noting that the series history, just asking for 6 goals between these teams. 9 of the last 10 meetings, Wild versus Capitals, 9 of the last 10 have gone at least 6 goals between these two teams. You look at Minnesota, like I said, with Hughes now, lugging the puck from the back end, quarterbacking the power play. It's going to make their offense a little more dynamic. Kaprizov and Boldy starting to heat up again. And they get to face Charlie Lindgren, not Logan Thompson tonight in net for this game. And not that Lindgren's not capable or he's been bad, but he's definitely not been as good as Thompson. So, like I said, I think Minnesota could score. I lean to Minnesota, too. I mean, I know Washington's lost 2 in a row, but maybe Washington goes into a little bit of a funk right now. And I like the vibes with Minnesota. So I like Minnesota here a little bit, too, minus 115. But I like this over 5.5 a lot. It's gone to 6. I still like it at 6. Washington, after 3 goals in their last 2 games combined and just the 1-goal performance against Winnipeg, I think they're going to look to open it up offensively. Like I said, Minnesota is also going with Gustafsson, not Jesper Wallstedt. That did surprise me a little bit, considering the alternation of goalies that's been going on for Hines, because Wallstedt started against Ottawa Saturday. Gustafsson started Sunday against Boston. You would think he'd go back to Wallstedt tonight. It did not happen. And while Gustafsson's solid, capable, with the way Wallsted's playing, I think that's actually not bad for my over, that it's Gustafsson, not Jesper Wallstedt, here for Minnesota tonight. So I like this over quite a bit, 5.5 to 6. And I like Minnesota a little bit, minus 115. Alex, what do you think? Capitals, Wild.
Yeah, like I said, I missed the boat on that 5.5, but at 6, minus 105, minus 110. I do like this over here. Also did grab a draw, plus 310, best draw price available over at Caesars. There's a 300 available at DraftKings as well. And I'm going to that FanDuel game special, Wild to win in overtime or shootout, plus 550.
There you go. Good stuff indeed. So, yeah, there we go. Terry's ears were burning. Terry Edelman's in our chat. Let's go Wild. He must have heard us singing the praises of Minnesota than me, the fact that I like them. So I do like that. I like the over more, quite honestly, because I think Washington's going to chip in some goals tonight too. But like I said, I think Minnesota. It's a theory to me that Minnesota's going to have more pace. Minnesota's going to have more offensive-driven mindset now with Quinn Hughes on that back end for them. What do you think here in this one, Matt? Washington, Minnesota.
I also jumped in on over 5.5 here. I would support a same game parlay here, 1.5, 5.5. I think I'm going to wait in game to try and jump on a better price on 6 or even get a good price on 5.5. But I was hesitant when I took it at 5.5, as Wallstedt was expected. But then once I saw Gustafsson, I'm glad I grabbed a little piece of that, because I do feel like, given the 2-game angle, I do lean Minnesota here, especially at home. This will be Quinn Hughes' first game back in Minnesota. But I do think, the Boston game was in Minnesota on Sunday, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Okay.
It was at Grand Casino.
So forget that angle. But what I would say is if Washington was entering this game on a 2-game win streak and Minnesota was on a 2-game win streak, I'd probably bet Minnesota here, especially being at home. Given the 2 losses for Washington, I could see them winning this game. I think it will be a good game. I think if Washington is going to win this game, it's like a 4-3 game, because I do think Minnesota is rolling now. Washington's a good team. There is 2 losses. But again, I lean Minnesota here. I think, they're in good form. They've got obviously a lot of hype around Quinn Hughes right now. But I think at the end of the day, given the goaltender matchup, no Logan Thompson, I love the over. I think I would like it at a 6.5 even. So if you wait till puck drop and, you get a plus 110 at 6.5, I don't think it's a terrible look. So I expect goals in this one.
Yeah, like I said, this will be a fun game to watch, and like I said, a certainly nice debut. Like I said, it's only one game, long way to go. Slow your roll, Terry, and all Minnesota fans here. But that was certainly a nice first outing for Quinn Hughes. I don't mind that though. Quinn Hughes plus 400. He did score in his debut. He was active. He was involved, shooting the puck. I don't mind taking a shot with Quinn Hughes here. For Minnesota to score in a second straight game for Minnesota. One of my bargain bin specials comes from this game, but it's not Quinn Hughes. It's another person, so we'll stick around for that from this game. But like I said, definitely that'll be a fun one to watch there. Capitals Wild. Capitals off a couple losses, so they'll be looking to bounce back. Oh, yeah, there was someone for Washington I was interested in as far as goal pro. Oh, yeah. This could be a Chikrin spot. I agree, because he sees that he's playing Hughes on the other side. Let's show that I can shoot the puck, and he's been doing that. So not bad, and I would maybe look to Protas as well here for Washington tonight. All right, next up, this is the second of the two TNT doubleheader games tonight. Colorado, Seattle. We have Colorado minus 300. Road favorites, 5.5 the total. I know there's a TNT game, and we've talked about the over trends. I'm not betting another Seattle over. I'm just not doing that. I'm done. After that Buffalo game, I'm disgusted by that. One goal on home ice in a spot you needed to win against Buffalo, and that's all you could muster. No, not doing it with another Seattle game as far as an over. Maybe a Colorado team total. Trust them to score. We'll see. But I don't know. Seattle's going to have to try to keep this game tight and very, very conservative, lower scoring if they're going to hang with this Colorado team. It's going to be Mackenzie Blackwood in net for the Colorado Avalanche. We don't have a confirmed goalie yet for Seattle, but do they give Philip Grubauer, the former member of the Colorado Avalanche, a start? I'm seeing that he is at the moment projected at some sites, and a lot of injuries starting to build too for Seattle. Not good for a team that's already offensively challenged. You're without Jaden Schwartz. You're without Jared McCann. Berkeley Catton, the rookie's out. Mason Marchment's now day-to-day. Capo Caco's now day-to-day. Vince Dunn, the defenseman, one of your better puck movers on the blue line, is now day-to-day for Seattle. So that makes matters even worse. So, but the problem is there's no value on Colorado. Can't bet every game. I have nothing pregame here. We'll wait for the betcast, see if something arises. Alex, Colorado, Seattle.
Yep, pass and hope that we can get some kind of adjustment on Colorado. Get a Seattle power play early to grab Colorado to score the first goal of the game. That's the only thing I can even think of that might create some kind of value pattern. Otherwise, this could be Avalanche score first and then run away in a 5-1, 6-1 game. So if that's the case, so be it. We don't have anything to bet on it. We just pass it.
Yeah, certainly not pregame. This is one I want to watch. How focused is Colorado? You are playing a reeling team. Is the focus there to take care of authoritatively of a team that's really, really reeling right now, like Seattle is. What do you think here, Matt? Avalanche, Kraken.
Nothing pregame. I'm in the same boat. Colorado historically was a good over team for me, but they're playing really good defensively and winning a lot of games, 3-1, 4-1. So I could absolutely see them laying not an egg. Like, I think they'll still win this game, even if they don't play their best hockey. And if that's the case, I think we'd get to an over here. If Seattle can score a couple goals, I think we got no problem getting to 6. But I want to see pregame. I do have a prop that I'll mention a little bit later from this game.
Good stuff there indeed. All right, last game of this Tuesday card, Calgary Flames, San Jose Sharks. We've got Calgary minus 140. Road favorites here. Total in this one sitting at 6, I believe. No, 5.5, sorry. Shaded to the over here in this game. What a finish to the road trip for the San Jose Sharks. I mean, and look, Alex, you are not, I get it. I totally understand that in the course of a broadcast, the voice can get on your nerves when it comes to a Randy Hahn.
Yes.
But we have to give him his due for that call of the overtime winner to beat Pittsburgh. That was a heck of a call by Randy Hahn there in the big comeback by the San Jose Sharks.
Have you seen the supercut of the progression of his voice from during the comeback? I think it was on TikTok where it was just he went from like aneurysm to orgasm between the tying goal and then the winning goal. Like the level. Like if you haven't seen it, I'll try and repost it on Twitter at some point. But it's absolutely hilarious how he goes from like where it's 5-1 and then it's 5-2, and he's still somewhat kind of calm, and he's just losing it once it's 5-3 because he can just he was feeling the momentum and energy of San Jose as he was calling that.
Yeah.
You could tell from just how excited he was getting that momentum was rolling over. It ended up being, like I said, quite poetic to see that. Yeah, that was exactly, he called it well. He called it well. That energy and enthusiasm was fitting for what was the biggest comeback in the franchise's history.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. No question, that comeback against Pittsburgh. But I think it was a brutal spot for San Jose. And we know we're very pro San Jose, but just not tonight. 5-game road trip. They won the last 2 in thrilling comeback fashion against Toronto, too. Not the same comeback, but they were still down in that game, came back, and they won 3-2 in overtime against the Leafs. Of course, 5-1 down and out against Pittsburgh. 5 unanswered goals to beat the Penguins, 6-5 in overtime there. 5-game road trip, and now you're back home for that first game. It's not quite that 6-game road trip threshold, but it's still pretty tough considering, those 5 games that you played were 5 games in 9 nights. And now with East Coast to West Coast travel involved, still difficult. Calgary, actually, they've won 4 of their last 5. Calgary playing better. They beat LA in overtime 2-1 Saturday, so they've been off since then. And it's a dad's trip for Calgary, the second game of the dad's trip. The dads were with them in LA. The dads will be with them here in San Jose. The great Andy Frost, former Leaf PA announcer, Morgan Frost's father, did the player introductions in the Calgary dressing room before the LA game, and he's got the voice for it. So that was great to see that. So the dads are still on that trip with Calgary. I like Calgary first goal, first period here for sure. I think this could be a pounce on San Jose early type of spot here for Calgary. First period, not the money line because the money line price isn't great, but maybe a first period puck line on Calgary to get a plus price on it in the first period. I like that. Full game, I'll wait for something better maybe during the game, but the first period looks I definitely like with Calgary first goal, first period, and also maybe a first period puck line on Calgary. It's just I think it's going to be a real tough start to this game for San Jose. Askarov in net for them, and Hungry Like the Wolf is starting to play a little bit better too. Dustin Wolf. It's been a nice little surge for him after a rough start to the season, so we'll see if he can continue his recent better form. Alex, what do you think? Calgary, San Jose.
Yeah, I might look for that little look with the first goal, first period in game. When I have pregame is the draw. I grabbed this. I got plus 305. That is, I'm seeing plus 300 at DraftKings. 305 is still available at Caesars. So once again, like I said, shop around. But I think this could be a close enough game. Like I said, if Calgary gets on the board, I could see San Jose wanting to press back and get on the board. But at some point, this could be one of those kind of low and slow battles. I don't expect this to just fly over at 5.5 or 6. This could be one where we see goals early and then it may be tempered down. So this could be another one where I've been doing lately too. Early goal and then looking for a live under at a bigger price adjusted with a 6.5 or maybe even a 7.5.
The injuries are mounting for San Jose. Kurashev IR, Gaudette now on IR, and of course Will Smith. That's the big one on IR from that hit he took against Pittsburgh. Great to see Celebrini rush in there and defend his teammate like that. So some changes up front. NHL debut for Igor Chernyshov here tonight for the San Jose Sharks. 20-year-old left winger, 11 goals, 12 assists in 25 games with the Barracuda. San Jose Barracuda in the American Hockey League this season. So Chernyshov, I might dabble in an Igor Chernyshov prop there for San Jose. Toffoli against his old team, the Flames, maybe. You look in that direction. We've talked about Colin Graff for a while for San Jose. So even though I like Calgary early, there's a couple of value-laden San Jose props that I do like. For Calgary, Frost starting to heat up. Coronado's never a bad look. So those are a couple of props there I'll throw out there for the Calgary Flames in this one. And they might be without their captain. Looks like Backlund may miss this game for the Flames. Matt, what do you think here? Calgary, San Jose.
Yeah, I like the first period over in this one. San Jose's been trending really well to the over. Calgary's been trending really well to the goal in the first 10. So I think we can get to 2 here. I agree. I don't think, I wouldn't be surprised if we get to 6, but I'm not like rushing to bet it. We'll see kind of live how the pace is. You mentioned the road trip angle. I think it's definitely a factor. It is, to me, it's a little less debilitating with a young team like San Jose. And I think the fact that the Saturday Pittsburgh game was a day game, they probably got back to California at a reasonable time, probably had full day off Sunday, normal practice day Monday. So I do think it's nice for them that they had that extra day in between. It wasn't like a Sunday night travel Monday back to practice, Tuesday game night. They got like an extra day off, if you will. So I still don't. I'm not rushing to bet San Jose. They are good value at home, plus 120. But Calgary is playing a lot better than they were those first month and a half of the season. If they were still, as bad as they were, I think this is a San Jose smash spot, but I do agree. I think we'll get some back and forth in this one. So might be a good late live look. If San Jose is playing strong but gives up a goal early, and then you get a plus 160, plus 180 money line, then it may be worth jumping a couple bucks on San Jose if they are playing well. But yeah, and then I've got a prop from this game as well, so I'll have 2 bargain bins at the end of the show, so I'll mention that here in a bit.
All right, there you go. Good stuff indeed. Yeah, there's some good props here. There's obviously could it be a Blake Coleman prop here for Calgary for Matt Robinson? Maybe it might be. I know he likes to sometimes back his former fellow Plano, Texas native when he's on the show here. But yeah, he did score last game for Calgary. Eklund scored. There's some good props in this game. How about the red hot John Klingberg? He scored in back-to-back games for San Jose from the back end. Crazy price on him in this game, plus 800. He scored in back-to-back games from the blue line. So if you think lightning in a bottle hits again for Klingberg tonight, that's not a bad price. He's looking for his 3rd straight game with a goal tonight. Great stuff. Great show. We appreciate it. Like I said, everyone tuning in, hit the like button. Over 600 live viewers. That's awesome. We thank you so much. Make sure you're back with us tonight for the live betcast, 7 p.m. Eastern. Again, tonight, our last live betcast of the year. Looking forward to it. DM or email for a spot on the betcast, and we'll send you the link for the betcast as it gets underway, 7 p.m. Eastern. Make sure you join us. Ice Guys, NHL, live betcast tonight. Final one for the year. Don't you dare miss it. WizardSportsPicks.com. Get on board. Great roster of handicappers. Make sure you check it out. A great forum for me across multiple sports. Maddie did the Beyond the Lines video for today on the YouTube channel for Wizards. So check it out. WizardSportsPicks.com. Check out Patreon.com/IceGuys. Just $10 per month. Goalie charts, totals charts, all the bonus content there. Of course, also daily betting cards, sides, totals, player props posted each and every day on the Patreon page. That Patreon card was smoking last night. Outstanding results with the Patreon card. Hopefully we can follow it up with another big night in the NHL. So check it out. Again, get on board. Your membership goes a long way to supporting the show and keeping it going long term. Get on board, $10 per month. Patreon.com/IceGuys.
And also check out the Ice Guys store, iceguys.myspreadshop.com. You got 2 days left to save 25% off all orders that are $50 or more. You are running out of time. If you want to get things under the tree for Christmas, they were just a week away. Going to have to do the express shipping if you want it done and get your gifts in time. But like I said, don't miss out. 2 days left to save 25% on all orders, $50 or more. Get that right now at the Ice Guys store. It's iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
All right, great stuff. Take advantage of that. All right, bargain bin special of the night. Best bets coming up right after we hear from our great Ice Guys sponsors.
Wizard Sports Picks, featuring the finest handicappers in the universe. Sharp insights, trusted picks, and relentless results. We strive to help you become consistent winners. This is Wizard Sports Picks.
Please for yourself, we don't know this, no Kings and Queens shop.
Thanks to all our sponsors, including Royal Cannabis. Check them out, royalcannabisshop.com. 20% off with promo code ICEGUYS. All right, bargain bin special of the night from this 10-game Tuesday slate. Alex, we'll start with you. Bargain bin special of the night.
I think we all each have a pair. I'm going to start off with mine, too. First things first, we go with the Hawks game, taking on Toronto, original 6 matchup, and talk about the juggling of the lines, especially amongst the second and third liners for the Blackhawks in the absence of Connor Bedard. I'm looking at the trooper, Jason Dickinson, on that second line. Anytime goal scorer, you can get him over at FanDuel at 7-1. That's a plus 700. That'll be my first bargain bin with Jason Dickinson. Bargain bin number 2 comes from Vancouver taking on the New York Rangers. We talk about that trade and how big it's been for not just Minnesota, but also the Canucks as well. I'm going with an old standby on Marco Rossi, anytime goal scorer, plus 330 for Vancouver to get the job done. So Dickinson, plus 700 for the Chicago. Marco Rossi at plus 330 for Vancouver. Those are my 2 bargain bin specials.
Yeah, I like the Rossi one. It's not my bargain bin, but I like it. It's something I bet. I like the Rossi prop. So Marco Rossi for Vancouver, Jason Dickinson for Chicago for Alex B. Smith with his bargain bin specials for tonight. Matt Robinson, bargain bin special of the night.
Yeah, I've got 2 as well. First one is going to be in that second TNT game, Colorado against Seattle. You mentioned there's a number of injuries, especially up front for Seattle. Mason Marchment is a game time decision with illness. Give me Matty Beniers to score a goal tonight. It's rare you see, a first line guy up there. He only has 1 goal since November 23rd, but he did have 11 shots on goal in his last 3 games. He's starting to shoot the puck quite a bit. And I just think they're kind of a deflated team with injuries, with just how they're playing as a whole. And he's a guy that if Colorado does, come into this game with their foot off the gas a little bit, I think he can pop one. So, again, it's rare to see a guy like him in bargain bin material. I know he's been on a cold streak as far as goals go. He scored 4 games ago against LA. But so Matty Beniers, anytime goal, that'll be my first bargain bin. Second bargain bin will also be on the late card in that San Jose Calgary game. I'm going to go back with Colin Graff. He had 3 straight goals while playing with Macklin. Then he gets pulled off that line. And then in the Pittsburgh game, after Will Smith went down the tunnel with injury, he had a bunch of chances. He did have 2 assists in that late comeback, and he's back playing with Macklin Celebrini. So, I think it's worth a look. I'm seeing it like plus 320, plus 340, stuff in that range. So, Colin Graff, Matty Beniers, both anytime goals tonight. Those will be my 2 bargain bins.
I agree with that. I agree. And someone that obviously we were all over watching that San Jose comeback against Pittsburgh. He did have a bunch of chances after Will Smith left the game in that third period. So that's why, and he's worth a look too tonight. I agree. Colin Graff for San Jose as far as goal prop is concerned, and also Matt liking the other one was Matty Beniers for the Seattle Kraken for Matt's 2 bargain bin specials. I have 2 as well. First one's going to be Igor Shinikov, Columbus, plus 550, noting that he has scored last game, second line, and has scored in every game for some reason against Anaheim in the past. He loves playing the Ducks. So Igor Shinikov, plus 550 for my first bargain bin for Columbus. And the second one is going to be from that Washington-Minnesota game. It's not Quinn Hughes, but it is another member of the Minnesota Wild who has scored back-to-back games for them. Ryan Hartman, plus 500 for the Minnesota Wild, looking to make it 3 straight games with a goal tonight. So there you go. Igor Shinikov, Columbus, plus 550. Ryan Hartman, Minnesota, plus 500 for my 2 bargain bin specials for this Tuesday night. All right, best bets to wrap up the show. Alex, what do you like for best bet?
New York Islanders, first goal of first period. The best price available is plus 140 against Detroit tonight. We'll be looking to hammer that home first.
All right, Islanders, first goal, first period. Best bet for Alex B. Smith for this Tuesday. Matt, best bet.
I go back and forth between 2 plays, but I think I'm going to have to go with the over 6 in that Utah-Boston game. Series history has been good. Lately for both teams has been good. I think it's a good price, so we just need 6, well, really 7 to get the hit. Utah-Boston over 6. That'll be my best bet for tonight.
All right, good stuff indeed. My best bet. Let's go to Washington, Minnesota. Hey, DraftKings is doing me a solid here. There's still 5.5 out there at DraftKings, minus 135. So absolutely, I like the over at that price. We've got the weaker of the goaltenders for both teams. I've got Wallstedt ahead of Gustafsson right now. We got Gustafsson tonight. I've got Thompson ahead of Lindgren right now, but we've got Lindgren tonight for Washington. So I like both teams to find the back of the net. Washington, Minnesota, over 5.5, minus 135 for my best bet here for this Tuesday. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button on the way out. Betcast tonight in just 3 hours and change from now, 7 p.m. Eastern. Join us for that. Reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday, Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms. For Alex B. Smith and Matt Robinson, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Tuesday. We'll see you for the Betcast tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern, and Wednesday for the Daily Show right here on the Ice Guys.